need is to set up your cleats on the pier. And I just use this small cleat. And I have plenty of line that I can hang the cage just a foot under the surface at mean tide. And then in the winter, I can get just a foot or two off the bottom. I hang it in between the pilings so that if it swings in the waves, it doesn't bump into anything. That'll keep them happy. Okay, I'm just cutting open my bag here, and I'm gonna divide these shells among 3 cages. You can do it with 2. I prefer 3 because in the spring there'll be a lot of growth. You'll be surprised at how much heavier your cage is. And when you're cleaning them and dunking them, the cage can start to lose shape from the rope pulling it up and down. So I prefer 3, but 2 is fine, and I've done 2 most years. So I'm just evenly dividing my shells among the 3. That's how the clip works. And to clip it closed, you squeeze and put this little lip through the cage. And you want to make sure that it's square to the edges, because crabs will get in there and eat your oysters if there's any opening here. So try to make sure that your cage is closed enough that even a little crab can't sneak in there and eat it. And then you level them out like that. And now I'm gonna dip it in. I'll give them a little clean start. This is what I mean by teabagging. This is how you'll clean your oysters. Unless they get really bad, this is sufficient. Teabag it like that. And you can see all of the gunk that floats out of your oysters, all of the growth. And that's what we want to keep off the cage and off the oysters, because what we're looking for is the nutrients in the water flow freely through your cage so the oysters can filter it out. I just mount my line to this cleat. In the winter, you can see that I'm about a foot below surface at mean tide right now. It's okay if your oysters are exposed for some part of the day. Actually, it kills some of the vegetation that grows around your cage. Just not for too long a period, not all day or anything. In the winter, you're gonna loosen this on your cages. You're gonna drop it down to the bottom. Mine's on the bottom. I'm gonna lift it about 1.5 feet, and that's where I want it for the winter. And I'll cleat it again. So in the winter, you don't have any growth that'll block your cages, and you don't have the same worry about oxygen. Cold air on a very low tide will kill your oysters almost instantly. Even on those extreme low tide days, you can maintain some water over the top of your oysters. This is what we're looking for. That smudge there is called the spat. That's the egg that's going to grow into another oyster. So these dark spots are where these shells have been fertilized. They're going to grow to be the size between a dime and a quarter. And if you keep your oysters clean, you can watch them through the year become hardened shells. But they're not going to get that big. If you fall behind on your oysters, you're going to have to get a hose on them and get a little bit more aggressive. Open your cages and wash them individually, because they'll start to grow a bunch of fuzz and you won't be able to see anything on them. But you want them to be exposed to all that high nutrient water. But that's the way to make sure you have a successful garden, is just to watch a couple of these grow into hardened shell. So if you have a good set of Polaroid glasses and you look off a pier at these dark blotches in the water, those are seagrasses, and together with the oysters, they're our most important tools for restoration, for offsetting the damage to the river from primarily stormwater on our side of the river and septic systems over there. So what happens here, if the oysters can keep the water in the river clear enough, sunlight gets to these grasses and they reoxygenate the water. And if we don't have enough oysters, then the water's clouded with algae. The algae blooms, dies, consumes the oxygen, and nothing can live in the lake. So these two together improve the clarity, the opportunity for photosynthesis, and the replenishment of oxygen in the water.